morning. Thank you, as always, for doing these. Obviously, this is the most one of the most exciting times to be a Star Wars fan. We just had Book of Boba wrap up. We're all looking ahead at Kenobi coming up in just a couple of months now. But one of the things we constantly hear from fans is that they would like to see figures and merchandise from the shows that are on the shelves around the same time that the shows are on. Now, obviously, you guys are at the mercy of Lucasfilm and Disney and when you can get designs ready to go for release. But can you talk to us a little bit about maybe take us behind the scenes on the timeline of when you guys start to see things that are going to be part of new media and how that affects your design process and how that might even be different from doing stuff from the classic films?
Sure. So as far as when we get started, that can vary from content to content. It is based on when the assets come to us from Lucasfilm. I will say that when we get a batch of assets from Lucasfilm, it's like Christmas, and our whole team will sort of gather around and just like parse through it and discuss, and that's a really fun day when we get to dig through it all. But yeah, definitely. Also, when we get a batch of assets, we can't really rush at everything at once and make every toy as soon as we see every character in the show, because then we wouldn't have paced out news for the year. So we will take that batch of assets and say, okay, we want to approach these first, we're going to get to these afterward, and pace it out so that there is a full year of toy news for you guys, and without as much pauses in between. So pacing that out becomes part of our process. I would say that when it comes to original trilogy content, that's a more delicate game of balance. And part of that is because when we look at the original trilogy, for me at least, we're balancing, a hero character like Luke. Obviously, he's got incredible appeal, but also how many times have we done him? And then when it comes to a background character, that can be something that can fill in the gap in a collector's world, but they may not be known as well. So those are really interesting balancing games to play when we look at original trilogy. And yeah, we try to bring a little bit of it all in, and that's the most interesting dance.
Star Wars toys seem to come out a little later than other brands that Hasbro has. Transformers, Power Rangers, Marvel properties all have their products in store, usually around the time that their media that they're based on is announced. For example, Marvel usually actually gets it out 2 to 3 months earlier, and it's in store shelves. People are aware of it. Star Wars brands toys seem to come out 12 to 18 months following the debut of new media. Now, I know you can't speak on behalf of other brand teams, but you are working at Hasbro, and so you probably have some insight about how Doctor Strange figures could be on the shelf right now before the movie comes in a few months. But Book of Boba Fett has 12 to 18 months.
Yep. I think we certainly have some figures that are out kind of with new media. I think we had the Artillery Trooper in Black Series last year, I think, or this year. Bo-Katan, I think we revealed kind of during the show. So there are certainly exceptions. We've said in the past that we see some things the same times you guys do. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way given the impact that we see. We saw Grogu, the child, in The Mandalorian the same time everyone else did, and just the feeling of that and just seeing the impact on the world was amazing. And so I think, we trust Lucasfilm, we trust Jon Favreau in terms of when we're going to get assets for The Mandalorian and other properties, and then we race as quickly as possible to get those out.
I wanted to ask about the Haslab Rancor project. It was an incredible item, impressive, huge, great paint, and it missed the mark by such a narrow margin. And given that other Haslabs have been extended, like Unicron got a little extra time, and given that the Rancor was so close, why not give it like that extra day or two it needed to hit that goal?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as we know, Haslab is all about those dream projects and allowing fans to decide. And, I backed it, more than once, a couple of times. I would have loved to have had a couple of Rancors in my house. And we definitely appreciate all the fans that supported that project and kind of the passion that they showed. We were excited to add that Rancor Keeper mid-campaign. We saw that as kind of the extra bit needed to hit the goal. Also, kind of Haslab's evolved, right? Like, the Unicron, I think, was the second campaign. Haslab is a pretty well-established platform. At this point, people know about the time limits. So after we added the Rancor Keeper mid-campaign, that was unexpected, given the establishment of the platform. At that point, kind of we did want to stay true to the original time period. We knew that we had 6+ weeks throughout the course of that campaign. It was announced at PulseCon. ultimately fans decided that this particular project in this particular configuration wasn't what they wanted to see. We've learned a lot from that campaign. We're going to apply those learnings in the future, and we're really excited for our next one, whenever that may be.
I want to build off of what Arnie was asking and talk a little bit about the Rancor. Obviously, we were all disappointed to see it, miss by just that much.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had some lessons that you learned about future that you're going to apply to future Star Wars Haslab projects. Can you talk a little bit about what those lessons are and what you're hoping you can do differently when we do this again?
Yeah, I don't think I can dive into the details there, but certainly again, as I said, this particular project, this particular configuration, fans decided that they didn't want to see. And so we've been kind of diving into what those things may have been. We also know kind of there's a lot of things that might have worked about the project. And so as we always do, it's helpful conversations like these, we are active online and reading comments there. And so I think we're trying to discern kind of, what specifically about the project was it that made it not work, and not just assuming that, anything about it could have led to that. So I think that goes into the conversations. It's not just like, well, this was Black Series or this was that or that. It's trying to dive into what specifically about the project led to the reaction that we got.
The new Jabba's Palace / Book of Boba Fett playset looks like the kind of things collectors' dreams are absolutely made of. If this format is successful, and I believe that it will be, will you consider adapting it to other fan favorite scenes, such as the Mos Eisley Cantina or the Death Star throne room?
Thanks so much. Yeah, this was a dream project to work on. And by the way, I really like your live stream. But yeah, this was a fun project for us. It's one that we're definitely going to be tuned in to watch the response that fans give this project and see if this is really a platform and a format for sale of a mid to high priced item that works out for us. And I think we're testing the waters with this. And if we see that work out, I think this could definitely open some doors for more type of world building type items like this to come, potentially as Pulse exclusives or to formats like this in the future. And you mentioned Mos Eisley and the Death Star. I think that's definitely locations that get tossed around in brainstorming, of course, and some of the ones that we're often thinking about. Nothing can be announced, of course, but this is all open doors and fun new opportunities. So we're excited.
Regarding that set, it was announced that the Bib Fortuna was a deluxe carded figure. Does that mean that the deluxe is going to be the size of like the Maldo Kreese Mandalorian, or is it going to be a standard sized card, and the deluxe factor is that it's an all newly tooled figure and it's soft goods and what have you?
Yeah, thank you for reaching out for detail on this. I will say that as far as the packaging, just to be fully transparent, this is something our team is still evaluating. The plan is for this character to be blister carded. I think our team needs to work through how big that blister is. And for me, my push would be, I would hope that it can be standard, because I know that fans want to put the case around that carded figure and definitely want to bring in that fan insight. I know that when we released the Maldo Kreese, some fans were, like, what am I going to put this in? And struggled to find that casing option for that size blister. So that also did lead to why we created the alternate look for the deluxe items to go forward with in the future. And that's been kind of an evolving process for us as we build this new format of deluxe for vintage collection. But again, back to Bib Fortuna, still evaluating. We're not sure if we can keep it standard. We need to work a little bit with our packaging team in the final model.
I think I'm just going to join in on everybody saying cool things about the Palace playset, because that thing is awesome. It's really cool. And one of the parts of the live stream I really enjoyed was when you guys were talking about the just insane number of accessories that come with it. Can you talk us through some of your favorites that you included in that set?
Certainly. This is such a fun question. So we just poured attention into the detail of the accessories of this set. We actually took all of the incredible reference that we received from Lucasfilm, and we just zoomed and put all of that in a grid and said, okay, which accessories are we going to make? And I talked a little bit on the live stream about, some of my big favorites are, of course, the droid head on the platter. Again, it's just such a warning right out there to all droids coming up in this palace. I love, again, the coin pouch piece, because I can just see your figures, like trading it back and forth, trading hands, making deals, getting bounties. So some of that brings some really fun figure play. As well, a piece that I didn't talk about so much. It's kind of cool just as far as the detail of it is like to the right of the throne, there's this little platter that has all this fruit in it. And I was like, is this space dates? Like, what are these little fruits in this little like stand? Some of those little pieces are just so fun and detailed and little. And I think as well, if you checked out our, I'll just end with, if you checked out our online photography of the set with the interchangeable meats that you can put on the grill spit, you may catch a little Mandalorian Easter egg. So those were all really fun bits, and I just hope you guys dig in and discover it all.
So yeah, we were talking about Jabba's palace and all these nice details. I wanted to ask specifically, we will see a further expansion of the mentioned room and maybe perhaps an enlargement of the area dedicated to the Rancor, the Rancor's pit. We will see something more about it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We didn't actually spend a ton of time down in the Rancor pit room. We just had kind of one scene this season. But I think what's going to be impactful for us is to continue to watch and see what Lucasfilm does with these locations and where they put the most action and where they bring the most figures together is always going to be what appeals to me for playset building. But I would say that probably there's a lot of opportunity for Tatooine in general. You've seen us return to this palace from our first release of the Jabba's Palace set, now into this new throne room set. And I think that honestly, there's a lot of opportunity in Tatooine to think about for the future.
Emily, fantastic job on the Boba Fett's palace. Now, this is an amazing set. It comes with a little higher price tag because of all the pieces to it. Was this at one point designed or thought to be the next vintage collection Haslab? And if not, why?
Yeah, no, it was always intended to be a pure Pulse exclusive. And I think it's kind of due to the lower price point and accordingly the lower resources needed. And I will just say, I think we were excited to explore this area, like between, the brick and mortar items and then kind of the dream Haslab items. We thought there was an opportunity for this other way, and, hopefully that'll be the case.
Yeah, the Jabba's Palace, as great as it is, I do know I saw some sticker shock among the collector community. And, just across the board, the cost of figures has increased, not just in the Star Wars line, but in every line. And lately, I've heard more and more people saying they're starting to feel a little priced out of being a Star Wars collector. So I was curious what your response is to those fans and what your team is doing to keep Star Wars toy collecting a hobby everyone can afford.
Yeah, I'll try to keep this quick. It's a tough question, but it's a good question. Like most other companies, we've seen those significant increases in material and freight costs. So we've had to take those actions to offset those costs and in those price increases. We're doing everything we can to continue delivering those quality products for that affordable price. And we haven't been willing to compromise on the quality of the products. We think that's the most important thing. We're still proud of that, and we're going to continue doing that. And yeah, hope for the best.
Going to the Black Series archive line, you guys made a couple of cool announcements there with Lando and 3PO and Dengar and old Sheev Palpatine coming back as he so often does. Can you talk a little bit about what goes into selecting figures for the Black Series archive line? How do you weigh things like wanting to update the figure, the fan desire for that character to come back, and the time since it was first on the shelf?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of all those things. It's an art rather than a science. I think the final piece is, again, kind of when this line was launched, it was launched with the goal of getting kind of these main characters out there that hadn't been there, that fans who are newer to the hobby hadn't gotten. So I think kind of prominence for the character and appeal to a newer fan is the final piece of the puzzle. But yeah, everything you mentioned, key updates to the figure, the existing fan desire and the time are all certainly important components.
All right, so fans are excited to see Hasbro's dedication to the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett as we continue to see with yesterday's reveals. With further Disney Plus content on the horizon, it seems that it may be hard to catch collectors up on some of the ones that are still trying to get Keyran or Kessel outfit, Baze Malbus, the main cast from The Rise of Skywalker, most of them, for example. Is there a plan to address some of these critical figures as time goes on?
Thank you. I would say that never say never for Star Wars. It's definitely, these are definitely things that we want to eventually come back around to. And there's always going to be a deep well of content that we can revisit because really this content has had lasting power. 4 decades of characters that we can return to, and they're still strong today. I would say too that as far as coming back to very specific characters, can't make any promises today, but they're not forgotten, and there's certainly potential in the future. I would say that you have quite a champion for Baze Malbus on the team with Patrick over here, and one that we keep pinging in our brainstorms. So hopes for the future for many of them.
Hasbro's company initiative to remove plastic from its packaging has a target date of the end of 2022. We've already seen this done with the new TVC Troop Builder 4-packs. How will this affect the TVC basic carded figures, where the vintage style packaging is one of the key selling points?
No, it's a good question. Hasbro made this pledge, I think, 3 years ago. And I will just say, I think I and a lot of people within the company, most people are really proud and happy to work for a company that at a high level has that kind of vision and cares about kind of the world and things kind of beyond our walls. So I will just say that it made me excited when Hasbro said that. And obviously we're working through the details, but that kind of vision and that commitment was really exciting to see. You mentioned the Troop Builder 4-packs. We would have done that in that packaging regardless of any pledge, just because that was the way that it made sense for those Troop Builder items, since those weren't about the packaging. We are exploring those details, what it means across the line. I don't have any updates to share at this point, but we do look forward to sharing more info down the line. And certainly, as you mentioned, that end of 2022 is coming up fast, and we will certainly share something before then.
So looking ahead at the rest of this year, it's looking like 2022 is going to be the year that we can finally get the convention circuit back on track after having a year or two off in there, starting with Celebration coming up in May. I'm just sort of wondering, are you guys planning on getting back out there for more conventions, and how you're going to balance that with the success you've seen with the live streams? Are the live streams going to go away? Are we just going to kind of go back to how things were? Are we going to stick with the live streams? Is there a balance in there? What are you guys looking ahead at for 2022? And maybe are we going to see you at Celebration in May?
Yeah, I can't comment on any specific plans, but everyone on the team is so excited to get back to conventions when it's safe to do so, whenever that time might be. We love kind of interacting and chatting with folks, and we know that that's a valued way to get feedback to us. Either way, we definitely plan to continue live streams. We've loved that platform to reach a broader audience, and so those will definitely continue.
Cool. Thank you for everything this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you.